Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's event, How to be the Super Motivator webinar and virtual presenter with Dr. Ray Jimenez. My name is Colin Connor, and it's a pleasure to have you with us here today. You can launch the Insights widget by clicking the link on the screen. I'll also be posting the link in the chat as we go through the session. We look forward to seeing you at the Online Learning Conference this year in Chicago. You can save $200 using the discount code TMNC. We also have a few handouts and links in the notes space. We hope you can join us at the Continuous Learning at Work workshop we have coming up, and you can find out more by clicking the link on the screen. We also have some information in the notes space as well in the handouts. We've got some exciting sessions lined up as well in the TMN Tech Learn webinar series. We have Jason Kramer July 25th, and you can find out more about all the sessions we have lined up by clicking the link on the screen or by viewing the Training Magazine Network TMN Tech Learn calendar. You can find out more about all the upcoming sessions, all of our recordings and infographics, ebooks, and white papers, and more, all at the homepage. And Ray, would you mind just taking a moment and just telling us a little bit about your upcoming story-based e-learning design workshop?
Hi everyone, welcome to the session today. The story-based e-learning design is really a workshop that will help you be able to add more vitality, more interaction, and more depth into your e-learning design. So check it out and join us. I'll see you in a few seconds.
Thanks so much, Ray. And once again, welcome everyone to today's event, How to be the Super Motivator webinar and virtual presenter with Dr. Ray.
Hey, thanks, Colin. Welcome, everyone. I'd like to welcome you back to our session today. Meaning many of you have been attending the Training Mag Network, and thanks once again for coming in. Could you say hello to me just to make sure that you can hear me well? Say hello, hello in the chat. Thank you so much. Very good. Great. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome. Terrific. We are going to have a fantastic session today, and the title is How to be the Super Motivator Webinar and Virtual Presenter. As many of you probably had followed some of my sessions, I run a workshop on the Masterful Virtual Trainer, and many of the ideas today I will draw from this workshop. So check it out and see how it goes. I also have workshop in story-based design and micro-learning, and I've written a few books on 3-minute e-learning, do-it-yourself e-learning, scenario-based learning, and micro-impact. So let's get moving very, very quickly. And of course, Colin, you're going to have to tell them about the insights that Colin is there in the chat right now. So let's move forward. We are going to have very heavy interaction today, so be ready. We're going to get engaged and have fun. So my first question to you is this. Is motivation about A, joy, or B, taking action? Can you type your answer in the chat, please? Is it about taking action or motivation? It's B, right? Okay. You might be happy, you might have fun, you might be exhilarated, but B is motivation. So we define motivation to be taking action, the results that we want to do, to be able to see exactly the outcomes of what we want to accomplish. Thank you. The second question to you is this. In virtual or webinar sessions, what makes learners demotivated or uninterested? Type it in the chat. What makes them demotivated or uninterested at all? Monotone, little engagement. Thank you, Jenny. Lack of engagement. Tracy, thanks. Very good. Lack of interest, lack of interaction. No questions. Very interesting. Not exciting. Really, really boring situations, right? So I want to show you a couple of videos in a short while. And here is a question to you, therefore. In your experience, how do you motivate virtual learners? Can you type it in the chat? In your own experience or in your guess, engagement, what exactly do you do? Ask leading questions, Megan. Good. Interactions, questions, interactions, getting involved. Fantastic, Sonia. Chatting, okay. Ask information. asking questions, call by name. Richard, thank you. Jamie, chat questions, polling, etc. and the like. Wonderful. So I have posted to you a couple of videos in here, and they are short videos. Now, as you know, I am very adventurous in my webinar. So I'm going to show you two links. The first link is this, which is A, anyone. This takes 1 minute. Just click it in. It's in YouTube, and you play it, please. I'll be quiet here, so I won't interrupt you. I'll give you 1 minute or so. That's the first video, anyone. Okay, good. Now here's the second video, the paper chased. So there's two videos so far there now. Zombies. The second video. Okay, when you're done, answer the questions in the chat. What's the emotional, mental state of learners when watching A or B? What are they involved, right? A or B? What is their mental and emotional state? Not motivated, bored, bored to death. Thank you so much, Tracy. Thank you. Disinterested, bored to death, right? Okay. B, uh, be scared, dull. A, okay, disconnected. Good. Fear in B. There's a fear in B, right? Okay. Scared. Very good. So there's a big distinction between A and B model. In fact, as you can see in the video, boring to death is this lecture of this gentleman here, anyone. And some of you mentioned in the paper chase is basically asking questions. It's provocative. There's a lot of fear into it, right? And then, of course, there is a certain degree of intimidation as part of it. But actually, this is a Harvard professor, a reenactment of the fact that asking questions is far more engaging, right? But you'll always remember, and you will ask questions, and you think for yourself. So when you're looking at these two videos, I often wonder in terms of what is really motivation. There's only one type of motivation, which is self-motivation. We as trainers, webinar presenters, and virtual trainers, we can do something to raise motivation level, but it is always a self-motivation process by the learners or by our participants. So when you look at it, our job is how to move the state from a demotivated, disinterested one into a motivated situation. So there are steps in here I'd like to review with you and reflect with you what to do with it in order to accelerate that process as a result, right? So Rick, have a good question there. Content is all about facilitation, mindset, as opposed to learners meets their experience, right? Very interesting. So when I ask you about mental state, there's actually two types of state, mental state and emotional state. The mental state, sometimes we talk a lot about our content, cognitively. Are they learning? Are they picking up ideas? But the emotional state is more harder to wonder because it could fluctuate in terms of state. Is where boredom is happening or excitement and joy is happening. Here on the mental state is probably learning is happening or disinterest is happening. But they go hand in hand as a process, right? And as we move forward, we begin to summarize that there's a key aspect of what you call self-motivation. Number one, we need to talk about situations. Number two, we need to reflect and have an insight, and then finally have a feedback. And this happens all throughout the entire webinar or the engagement meeting. So, give you an example, a question to you right now here. So, if this is lesson A, avoid accident is the instruction, and then the situation here is B, which one gets the learner's attention quickly, A or B? And why? Can you type it here? Why are they paying attention to A or B? Okay, B, okay, because they are something very good. They can get it very quickly, more interesting, more visual, there's emotional connections to visualize it, right? So typically what happens is that we write a lot of instructions, a lot of content, and we say avoid accidents, follow Regulation 101, go to OSHA, or ask questions as a good leader, but they are not in situation form, right? So visual and related to my life. Ron, thank you for that. Mary, visual, a great learning tool. So you begin to see that the visual, the situation captures the imagination of the learners very, very quickly. So, question to you therefore is this: why does a situation trigger high interest and motivation? Think deeper about this. Why does a situation trigger high interest and motivation? What happens to the mind? What happens to the image? What happens to our thinking process? You can relate to it. You can empathize with it. Very nice. It's relatable. You're more responsive to it. It's empathy. Thank you so much for that, Elaine. Okay, Andre, there's curiosity. So something's going on in our minds and our hearts. There's critical thinking. Michaela, thank you. There's connection going on. So situations help the learners actually connect with what you're talking about, right? Meaning to say, if we don't start with situations, we're likely going to risk of the learner misunderstanding it or being disinterested, right? Think of solutions creatively. Ruth connects to my own experience. Wonderful. Gary, see the emotions, okay, in the picture, creates that image. My own experience. Very, very interesting. So when you're looking at this, therefore, in situations is very, very powerful as an indication. So one of the tips before we talk about situation in here, situation triggers emotional states, and the more conflict, the greater the emotion. So meaning to say, the more conflict, the more challenges, the more confusion, the more turmoil, the more it creates confusion. So here I'm going to ask you to look at the next video here, and some of you have seen it. This is probably about a 1-minute video, so I'll be quiet for a while. And then after watching the video, what I'd like you to do is answer this question, right? Use your pen. Which one of the following did you experience while viewing the video? So the video link is now there. Could you play it for a minute? It's only a minute. So, and then use your pen. Which of the emotions are you feeling with this video? I'll be quiet so I don't interrupt you. Use your pen and encircle. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, big note in here: empathy, confusion, There's a lot of surprise, trust. So in this situation, it's very, very interesting. The guy reporting about this really incompetent employee, and we all come from different experience and feeling, and we cannot help but to have an emotion, right? So in a situation like this, if the guy was lecturing, right? If the guy was lecturing, you would not be able to really understand it. So here you have humor, you have empathy, you have confusion, you can have sadness, you can have trust, and there are many, many other components. The empathy, because you're trying to understand, you empathize with the incompetent employee, or you empathize with the manager who's trying to deal with this, right? Either way, you empathize. You have a feeling, right? Okay, he seemed bored and not professional, right? They felt bad for the persons asking for help. So here you begin to see that this kind of situation present this kind of opportunity in order to raise that. So situations, therefore, as a starting point, as always carries conflicts, triggers emotions, empathy, authentic experience, realism, curiosity. And that's why when you begin to start your presentation, and the moment you start about anything factual, like, for example, our objective today is to learn the following. Bing! You just lost the learner. So instead of simply saying our objective today is to learn this, why don't you show a situation? Does it make sense to you? Give me a yes. Instead of saying we're going to learn about this today, you're going to simply say, look at this situation, right? Start with the situation, because the situation will carefully immediately make the objective real to the learner, right? Start with the situation. Like when I started with you, I didn't have to state the objective. I just said it to you. What will you do when you are in this situation? So situation, in fact, the more I think about this, the more I begin to realize that situation actually is the best tool that a trainer can really start anything that is almost guaranteed to provoke a reaction. Would you agree with that? Situation is one of the best ways to start anything, any training, any learning, coaching, on-the-job training, e-learning, that immediately provokes a reaction, right? When you start with content, you've lost the learner right then and there. In fact, I want to go further more. The more you talk about situation, the more the learner is able to think about the problem and find the answer. I'd like to repeat that. The more you start with a situation, the more the learner is able to think for themselves and find the answer. Because it's automatic, right? So in that situation, let me ask you therefore the following question when looking at this. So why do situations facilitate conversations, reflections, and insights? Can you share me your thought? Why would situations facilitate conversations, reflections, and insight? Can you share me in the chat, please? Thank you, Angel. That's what it is for me, right? Okay, it's relatable. Okay, provoke the thought. Thank you for that. Nice. Rafael got context. Very good. Relatable. Thank you. Julie, it gets the learner thinking. Absolutely. It gets them thinking, right? Good. Shedley makes them think, which is very important. Relatable experience, Mary, practical application. Diana, thank you. Requires thought. Requires thinking. Make trigger personal experience. Tita, thanks for seeing you here, Tita. Janet keeps in them the interested. Trigger emotional memory. Beautifully said, Monica. So, if you start with a factual statement, it doesn't go anywhere. Would you agree with that? That's why people would say when they read a lesson, when you start with them, this is the definition of something, boink, you lost them, right? This is the definition of the software. Boink, you just lost them for the first 3 seconds. If we put the situation, the mind automatically gears up to a conversation, to reflection, and to insights, right? So it's very, very interesting, very, very provocative to think about this. So when you look forward, therefore, the next question I'm going to ask you is this. There's a situation here, a couple simply say, I have 3 jobs. And then the wife says, we don't have enough for tuition fee. So they're referring to their child, that they could have no way of sending her to school or to him to school. So what questions can you ask a webinar audience to start a conversation? Can you type it in the chat, right? Julie, have you been in this situation? What's the solution, Rafael? How can we help? Very nice, okay? What would you do? Thank you for that, Jenny. Ruth, thank you. Have you dealt with this situation, right? Okay. Have you been in a money pinch? Okay, very beautiful, Tony. What are some of the suggestions that you can have? Jody, okay, envisioning, wonderful. I love this, okay? Perfect. Thank you so much. Terrific. Okay, great. Keep it coming. Okay, good. Very good. What emotions are they feeling? Very nice. Okay, I love it. What do we need to do? So now what you're doing is you're now taking advantage of questions that will continue the conversation or trigger the conversation, because the conversation is important in the way the learners thinks, right? What else could you have done? What you should have done, right? Now, by the way, you cannot have a conversation if you did not start with a situation. Would you agree with that? You cannot have a conversation if you didn't start with a situation. You cannot have a conversation by simply saying the definition of feature software 1, 2, and 3. There's no way. If you're going to start with a factual statement like what is the definition of the software, the only question you can ask is, can you tell me and memorize it for me, right? So you cannot ask conversation questions if you don't start a situation, right? Okay, very, very good. So moving on, you begin to ask the question to you, how does having conversations in webinars learners help in learner motivation? Think about this in a perspective. Why does the learner become motivated when they have conversations with you as a presenter? Okay, get folks involved. Very good. Nice. Okay. Thank you. Very good. Invested is the word there, Jenny. Providing recognition. Recognition is key. Engaging people. Wonderful. I love it. Okay, nice. Okay, very good. Thank you. They feel they are participant, not being lectured to. Absolutely. Right? It makes more conversational, less lecture. Very, very cool. So I'm going to show you something on the screen right now. I hope you can see this. Can you all see this? I have sort of screen capture some of the conversation that you have in here right now, right? Can you see that? Okay. You begin to see that although we are having a long process of discussions in here, right? Does it really matter that I see all of your answers? Or is it just important that the learner is having a conversation with themselves, right? Would you agree with that? The learners are having a conversations in their mind, right? Do you agree with that? It's not important that you have to answer every one of the conversation, right? So now you ask a question here, and then the learner goes back and have their comments, and then what you're doing is you're asking back another question. So you're just basically circling the process, right? So when you're doing these sessions like that, and even if there's hundreds of people in the room, what is important is you're helping the learners to reflect, to listen to themselves, to think to themselves, to process what they're seeing in the questions to themselves, and to be able to bounce it back to others. That is more the primary reason, more than you and I as trainers watching their answers. Do you agree with that? Can you give me a yes? It is important for the learner to process in their own mind than you and I checking the quality of their answers, right? Okay, very good. So you see, I just screen captured it and move it over here, which is another way of doing it. So moving along, therefore, when you're looking at that, conversations is triggered because we're looking at situations. There are no conversations if there are no situations. And therefore, what happens here is that we begin to accelerate the model in their mind. We're also being able to accelerate the emotions in their mind because we're starting in that situation. Sarah, I cannot. I'm having conversation with myself. Thank you for that. Okay. So here's a question to you. This doctors A, doctors are helping. B, doctors goofing, right? What is the context of this situation in A and B? Type it in the chat. What's the context? What is the meaning for this one? Serious one, okay. Ruth, thank you. Serious one. Work hard, play hard, scrubbing, okay. Working versus not working, okay. Richard. Surgery, serious work, relaxing, break time, communication, performing surgery. Okay, wonderful. Great. There's a relationship going on. Thanks for that, Jesse. Bruce, work and rest. Okay. Very nice. Gabriela, okay, working together, team building. So we're creating some level of context, as you can see this happening right now. What is going on is that there are 2 points of views here. Those pictures were not taken during surgery and shared on break time. Yeah, that's a good way of doing that as well, right? So, but really, when you're looking at this situation, what is happening is that situations helps the learners focus on context and meaning and insight. Without situation, there's no meaning, right? So here, one situation is here, with they're goofing or they're resting. The other one situations are doing work. So now the situations add meaning, right? They add meaning. They set the tone on the background. Thank you for that. They relate that to each other. And they, of course, being able together, they somewhere have a camaraderie as a result of this. Do you notice it that I'm reading back some of your comments? Why am I reading back your conversations in the chat? Not all of them, but many of them. Give me an answer. Validation, recognition, okay, what it is, that what's being accomplished. It's two-way, acknowledging me, okay, accountability, very good. My voice is heard, reinforcement, inclusion, okay. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to reinforce many of the ideas that I'm trying to stress in my lesson, but I'm using your voice. Would you agree with me with that? I am using your voice to teach exactly the points I'm trying to use in here. So therefore, it is your learning. It is not my learning. It is your learning. It is not my learning. You're the one trying to find that solution, right? So moving forward, moving a little bit in this area is this. So conversation, questions, triggers on that area. So why are doctors are rushing her surgery when she has no insurance? Right? Conversation, triggers, reflection, and insight, right? Yeah. So now when you ask this question, therefore, we ask the question, why are doctors rushing her surgery when she has no insurance? Good question, right? But now when you're looking at this here, the situation carry a meaning, but the conversation carry content and meaning. So in this phrase in here that I'm encircling, I'm going to encircle it back here. In this phrase that I'm encircling, what is the content? Can you summarize to me in the chat? What is the content, right? What is the content that we're trying to reach? They don't care as much about her, okay? The question can be interpreted in two ways. Yes, their oath. Do you care or not care? Stupid insurance, health insurance challenges, right? Okay. They took an oath to save lives. It's sense of emergency, right? Very good. What's more important? To save life. Very good. Thank you. Great. Great. Jamie, thank you for that. Mildred, I'm not getting paid for my rush. Why rush? Life-changing priority. Okay. So, this is now a technique which I call that we inserted the content within the situation. I'll repeat that. We inserted the content in the situation. Do you see that? We inserted the content in the situation. So situation is there, but now I'm inserting it, and then I'm having a conversation about the content and the meaning within the context of the situation, right? So another example is something like this. So here, there's a fire, situation carries meaning. Did they check the type of chemicals before going in? So the conversations and content are carried in there. So my question to you right now here is, where is the content here? The item that I selected, where is the content? Can you share with me? I encircled something. Where is the content, right? Safety issue in the picture, okay, chemicals, fire, MSDS, okay, what the safety steps might be, wonderful. Okay, good. Chemical safety in the question, assessing the questions, the chemicals, and the like, right? So, because you have a situation, you're able to insert a content on the meaning of a situation. Now, this is very, very hard when you do a lecture, right? Because in the lecture, you have now to be forced to come up with a statement of definition, statement of what needs to be done all the time. So in this regard, therefore, when we're looking at this, there's a way that reflections, conversations add context and meaning. It allows the learner to reflect and create relevance, and conversations carry content. So we talk about situation, we talk about conversations in order to ask the reflections to the learner, because that is how it happens. So far, you're following me? Situations create reflections and insight. Could you confirm a yes for me? Yep. Okay. Situations automatically creates reflections and insight because the learner is involved in the process, right? Okay. Perfect. So here's I'd like you to just remember this, because now you have the three major points so far: reflection, insight, and relevance. And this is in order to help the learner become self-motivated, right? So moving forward, let us push this further and let's see what happens. So now, did they check the type of chemicals before going in? What do you do if in your situation? By adding this question, how do we bring in the learner to take action? Can you answer it in the chat? By just adding this question in here that I'm putting an arrow in, how did we bring the learner to take action? Ebony, thank you. Thinking about solutions. Okay. Clarifying the thought. Very good. Make them reflect on it. Open-ended questions apply to their experience. Ashley, wonderful. Kara, good. The learners start thinking about how they would handle it, right? Okay. Thinking, reflecting, very responsibilities. Not wonderful there, Michaela. Okay. Linda, ask questions of the chemicals could be, right? You ask them to make a situation. Have them empathize. Patty, thank you. Empathize situation. Very good. Apply critical thinking. Mary, wonderful. Review now the process thinking. Review prior to bringing. Okay, very good. Safety procedures and accountability. So, we define motivation as the ability to take action. That's what we said earlier, right? With taking action. But here now, because we have a situation and because there's something to reflect, we ask the learners to take action by asking them the question on what you're going to do. Very simple. What you're going to do. However, if you use a content that is factual, like steps, definitions, without a situation, you cannot ask them a question of what they will do. Would you agree with that? If there's no situation, you cannot ask them a question, what will they do? It's kind of an important thing, right? There's no context of what will they do, right? So starting the situation, helping the reflection and the insight, and then adding a question on what they will do mainly allows now the learner to take action in their mind, which is what we hope to do what happens. Furthermore, if the chemicals are highly combustible, what do you do first? hose it with fire first, use anti-combustible reagents. So by adding this question, how do we bring in the learner to take action and do trial and error? Again, answer the question in here, how do we bring in the learner? Decision making, okay, thank you so much, Thomas. Very good. They have to choose. There might be 2 or 3 more options, okay. Beautiful. Love it. Thank you. Continue, please. Okay, great. They must think, then make a difficult choice, making the information they will need to part of their problem solving. Tanya, collaborate the best route. Okay, good. Whole picture, taking the whole picture, Tammy. Think of consequences of each action before deciding. Ah, beautiful. Rick, thank you. Okay, compel them to listen and learning if they do not know. Assess the risks. Okay, so now we have moved from situations. We have moved from a situations. We have moved into a situation where we ask them to make a decision, right? So primarily what we have done is we have moved the individual, the learner, check before they take action. We've moved the learner into a level of action and motivation. We've moved them into the process of taking actions, trial and error, applications, and results. So now we're focusing on this area that they know what to do. They would take action as a result of this one. So in a summary, therefore, actions help learners to understand. Trial and error provides feedback. Repeated feedback helps in application, right? Does this make sense to you here? The summary we have here. Actions helps learners to understand, okay? And then trial and error provides feedback. The repeated feedback helps applications, right? Okay, so that's one of the key consideration as we move forward in this approach. Now, therefore, so far, you can see that we have moved the learner from one mental state to another state, and yet the emotion continues to be there, right? State by state in this area. So let's pause for a second in here. What's the one thing that you've learned so far here? In this actions motivate learners and using this chart, what is the one idea so far that stuck into your mind? That is something interesting, right? Okay, and I'd like to ask you to enter it into the insights. Can you do that there? The Colin just inserted the insights. Could you do that? And I'm going to share in the link so far. Put responsibility on the learner. Thank you. Allow the learner. Okay. Share your insights into the link that that Colin just presented, so we can see what's going on. And I will open up the insight so I can see other people's comments, right? Okay, thank you. Very good. Keep it coming. Okay. John, thank you. People find themselves as part of what they're learning. I love that, John. People find themselves as part of what they're learning. Jenny, you cannot motivate someone. You can create the environment, absolutely, to be self-motivated. Need to touch the emotionally. Ed, thank you. Learner is learning by applying and practicing. Wonderful. Okay. Terrific. Right? Terrific. Okay. Good. Very good. So you begin to see here that when I asked you some conversation, I extended the conversation and let you show you my screen. So if you can see the link, can you again post that here, Colin, the share link? I think I have it. I'm going to share my screen because I want everyone to see the insights. Can you confirm in the chat you can see my screen and that you can see everybody's insights? And Colin is going to type it in here in the chat, right? Okay. Colin, keep on typing the chat link so that they can put in the insights, right? So usable involved, comments, situations provide the vehicle for thinking and processing, keep audience engaged, situations make emotional impact, keep audience engaged by situations with their content. Laura was saying situations make emotional impact. So as I read this, and there are now several dozens in here, right? in the Insights widget that we provide for you. As I read this, how does this help you as a participant to our webinar today? By you putting the insights, how does it help you to be able to see these insights and what people are saying after the webinar or before the webinar? Can you share me your thoughts? I just scrolled a few examples here. Patty, starting with scenario, will engage the learners, right? Adds to my knowledge, very nice. Okay, reinforce my thoughts, excellent, right? And Colin, can you put the link insights again? So for those who have not done it, they can click it and put their insights. Thank you. There you go. Wonderful. So again, this is just another way of extending the conversation, right? Every other way that you can extend the conversation, the more people are creating their insight. Starting with the questions, intensive objectives, higher retention level, and the like. Okay, very, very good. Sorry, my phone is... this is the process that we go through. Let's add on more of our knowledge in here. And Colin will keep on putting the insights so that you can collect it, right? So here, if chemicals are highly combustible, we already know that by adding a feedback and help the learners, they increase their motivation as a result. So let's talk about intensifying emotions in situations because it's very, very important. So I'm going to show some screen in here, and I'd like you to encircle, use your pen, on how does this image intensify emotions in situations. Can you use your pen and encircle it, right? Use your pen and encircle. Exaggeration, okay? I like it. Simplicity. Yep, okay, there you go. You exaggerate, right? Okay. The more exaggerated you are, the more people are able to really pay attention to it. Very good. Thank you so much. Few seconds more, and then we can move forward. Okay, very good. Wow, exaggeration. People recognize exaggeration very, very quickly, right? Wonderful, terrific. Okay, good, very good. So next question to you here. What method in this is being used? Exaggeration, continuity, clarity. What do you think? Okay, clarity, exaggeration, clarity, simplicity. Okay, now exaggeration is still one of the most, on all of them, right? Okay, very good. Okay, a few seconds more. So you can see that, right? Okay, perfect. Then let's go one more step, right? Another one. Here, what would this encircle yourself? Okay, these photos, intensifying emotions. So continuity, okay, exaggerations, continuity. Okay, wonderful. So we're trying to intensify the emotions. So what do we do, right? Okay, perfect. Love it. Wonderful. Okay, clarity and the like. Here, finally, what method is this? Encircle the word. Use the photo. How do we intensify emotions, right? How do we intensify it, right? Okay. Clarity, very, very clear, very, very clear. No confusion. We know what it is. The picture is there. It relates to the situation very quickly. Okay, wonderful. So here we have to intensify situations because that's the most important area. And we're now moving into the cycle of building our learners, and we're trying to help them build the 3 points: strong in situation, reflections, and then feedback, and the key words are all this area. Now, let's try to see if we can intensify reflections and applications. What I'd like to do is to provide you a video, which is like a minute and a half. And then the title of the video is How to Reduce Cost and How Do I Handle Budget Issues. Preview the video, and then when you get here, if your choices are limited, how would you work around the situation? How would you work around, and then type that in the chat. Ready? How would you work around, and then type that in the chat. So I'm going to show you a video which is only a minute and a half, but then the video is here, right? Okay, here you go. Here's the video. I'll be quiet for a few seconds, right? Intensifying reflection and insight. Watch the video. Okay. The link is here. And I'll keep quiet so I won't interrupt you. Okay. So how would you work around? How would you work around? It's about people solving, collaborate to find the best revised answer, suggest a different way. Okay. Bring together stakeholders. Thank you so much. Compromise. Bring all stakeholders. Very good. Baby related, determine what's more important, focus the purpose, go back to the main objective, right? So in this situation, what I did, I keep on writing, right? Since they are not listening, I showed you a video with the situation, and I didn't have to have a video, but it's nice to show a video. And then I asked you a question: how do you want to work around in this area? So now we try to intensify acceleration. We try to accelerate intensification of insight and development. So we're trying to help the learner be able to think farther. More than intensifying emotions, we also said we intensify the thinking process. Do you see this exercise, therefore? We help the learner to intensify the thinking process as well. Make sense to you all? Give me a yes. We intensify the situation, we intensify the learning questions cognitively. So you do that simultaneously, and you use by different tools, situations, and the like. Now, I'd like to invite you to a website called Situation Expert, and I sent you a brochure on that because some of these examples are presented there in terms of the different questions that you might be able to do, and you can create your own account. So as my last video I want to show you, what will you say to your loved ones after you see this video, right? What are you going to do to your loved ones after you see this video? This is our concluding video, and this is about a bit under, about almost 2 minutes, but enjoy it. The whole message here is that there's a message in this video, and I'd like you to type in the chat, what are you going to do and say to your loved ones? Okay, I'll be quiet for a minute or so. I'll be quiet, okay? Okay, thank you so much. I'd like it to, I'm reading many of your ideas here, spend time with loved one. After this webinar, I'd like you to take a few moments of your time and send a message to your loved ones. Send a text, send an email, card, or hug the person next to you if you are there. The whole concept is that we presented a situation here, and in the situation, we were able to teach some learning moments, which is love for each other, relate to the person, reach out to the person, okay? And this is just my story that I pick up, which is very, very emotional. So, my best wishes to all of you. So, my question to you, final question, is what is the one idea from this session that you can apply immediately? What's the one idea that you can apply immediately? Share it in the chat. Share it in the chat. Okay. Share it in the chat. My chat is got slow very quickly, so I hope you understand. I can't read it. Very good. I can see it all. Use interaction situations. Each moment is precious with a loved one. Thank you. Conversation. Okay. I like what you use a video, but had participants go your video instead of presenting it with presentation. Very good. Tammy, emotions, trigger involved. Thank you. Lori, interact more, shared, special. Okay. Use situations, problem solving, provide a simultaneous follow-up with questions, discussions, reflections, and relevance. Wonderful. Okay. The last video creates a memory that will last like generations for memories to come. Gary, thank you. Wonderful. Okay. I love the smile in your face. Thank you. I'm always having fun when I'm doing this. Okay. I have added the link to the videos in here so that you can play around with it and show it to your team as an exercise begun doing this. And I also want to invite you to attend to my workshop, which is the Masterful Virtual Trainer. And many of the technique I have used here, there's a design process, an interaction process, there's a repeatable process of doing this. So this is a science and at the same time an art form that I have done in my session. And of course, the other workshop I do is story-based learning design and micro-learning. I also want to invite you to the software I develop on Situation Expert, which starts with a situation and make the learning by fixing something and solving something. So, give me a rating from our workshop today. 10 being great, 1 being poor. Can you share it to me? 10 being great, 1 being poor. 1 being very boring, 10 being really engaging and motivating. 100! Hey, I can go to lunch. Thank you very much. Okay, wonderful. Okay. Thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. Please try to review and join my workshops and then come again. There are other presentations that I will provide to you, and this is fantastic having you here today. Thank you very much, and we will stay here for a couple of minutes if you have any questions so far. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Sonia. Thanks, Tita. Thanks, Melinda. And thanks all the rest of you who have been following these sessions. Thank you. Hey, thanks so much, Brian. Okay, good. Very good. Thank you. I am putting in here the link to Situation Expert. So if you just want to click it and review it, this would be good. Hey, baby. Salamat din. Thank you so much. Very good. Kara, thank you. Enjoy, appreciate your time, Ray. I got a lot of it. Very nice. Thank you. Appreciate, thank you, thank you, thank you. Mary, thank you. Michaela, hey, thank you. Nice to see you here. Perfect. Okay. Terry, thank you. Janice, thanks. Tammy, thank you. Peter, thanks for being here. Curtis, most appreciated. Okay, thank you so much, and thanks for
Great. Thanks so
Colin for
much.
our
And
help
thanks to
today.
all of
So
our
I'm going to turn
participants
you
for being a
over to
part of
Colin.
today.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Colin.
Janet, Christine, and Corey, Nancy, and Tom. Thank you once again for being a part of today's excellent session. And once again, thanks, Ray, and thanks to all of our participants. We look forward to seeing you in our next webinar.